Hey guys, Jens here, and today I'm gonna rant a little bit. Um, Not really rant, but just rambling around with Affley, because I haven't queued trees in a long time, like 2 weeks, on my main. I just joke around with my ult and I played some LSD, some Fire Holy Palo comps as Affley, and it feels so weird, this design. And this was actually what I was scared of in terms of PvP and PvE. I did some PvE, I did Ulduar to get some gear to actually catch up a little bit, even though people now are like 20 item levels higher than this, maybe more. But even in PvE it feels super weird to play, and I was obviously top DPS even though I was haste versa. And it just feels weird. Like it feels like your dots do absolutely nothing. Even in PvE, you keep redotting stuff, especially if you pick up Siphon Life. And it just feels super weird, so I hope Blizzard actually changes this and they shift the damage from Malefic Rapture to dots, or just give us a spender that is single target. Right now, I think Rapid Contagion by now should be baseline, to be honest, and should be like more of a single target spell. Like I would love to see something along the lines of Rapid Contagion increases this, but on a single target, not overall, and then dotting up dot damage overall, and nerfing Malefic Rapture. Like Malefic Rapture should only be used in AoE fights, right? Like it should only be worth casting on 3 plus targets, or even 4. I think right now it's super weird, especially in a single target fight. You're pressing this button and it doesn't feel impactful. Or it does, because it does a lot of damage, but a single target it's super weird. It just doesn't make any sense, and you need to keep redotting, especially if you're Siphon Life. It's so weird. And in terms of PvP, I still think the same. Even my ult, it's 195 only item level, and it just feels like I'm super squishy. And another thing that I think that worries me kind of is I can do one mistake and die if I fuck up my rotation in terms of mobility, and I can do the same to other people. So every other class can actually punish me if I fuck up my mobility, especially melee, obviously. And if they fuck up, I can't really punish them. That's why I think, like, they need to do something, right? I hope the next patch actually Blizzard sees this and, I don't know, make Rapid Contagion baseline probably, and single target spender, buff dots, and like Nightfall needs a buff as well. Like, I've already talked about what I want to see changed in terms of PvE and PvP. Mostly PvP, obviously. I just feel like Malefic Rapture, it's just so weird to press. It's super weird to press, and since we are the caster that actually cast the most in Shadowlands, and we have been that caster since Wrath of the Lich King when they added Haunt, I think we should be a bit more tanky. Like, I don't get why Boomies are more tanky than Warlocks, even though they have less mobility. They don't really have to cast their finishers. Same with mages and same with shadow priests. Uh, I think overall their tankiness, so these three classes or these three specs are way tankier than they should, like Boomy, Shadow Priest, and Mage, especially Fire and Arcane. But I think they shouldn't be so good in terms of absorbing damage, and I think Warlock should be a bit better. I don't want BFA Season 4 Destro. I think that was super boring, like staying in the middle. Even in Legion it was kind of the same. Staying in the middle, sucking up all the damage and then just dishing out damage doesn't feel rewarding, but this playstyle also doesn't feel rewarding, where you just seems like you're a pussy, okay? And this is actually legit true. I rolled this class in TBC because it was super cool and it was like badass, and all of the sudden in Shadowlands I feel like a pussy because I need to run around like a pussy, right? And I think they need to legit just buff our survivability, shift the damage, and then in the next patch just straight up, I don't know, I don't like to say remove, but to work on a single target spender. Um, and if they do that, Warlocks would be actually more fun. I also feel like being the only caster that only has one school of magic, it's kind of bad design. Not because not because I want. And everything I say, by the way, it's not to be OP, but I just feel like Warlocks overall in PvE and PvP, the effort you gotta do to get the damage, and we will be nerfed in terms of damage for sure. But the effort compared to any other class, it's just the skill ceiling is just way too high, and I I even have these details where I completely destroyed this 2k Warlock because of that. Like the skill involved in doing damage is just, I don't know, I think it's a bit too high. Like if I play my warrior, it's so simple to play. The skill comes from knowing your utility and like doing good stuff with intervene, with disarm, banner, rallies, reflects, and all of that. And I think that's a good design. Where doing damage, it's not hard. It shouldn't be easy, but it's not hard. And your skill comes from, for example, fearing, spell locking, reflecting, kiting a bit. I think the kiting, yeah, should be nerfed. And I don't know, it just feels super weird to play Warlock, and I'm gonna keep playing it, but I'm already considering like just straight up quit Shadowlands when TBC comes out. Like I said, I don't like SLSL Warlock, but it feels a bit more right than Shadowlands Affliction. Shadowlands Affliction, it's in a really weird spot. That's why it's so hard to do a tier list which the with Affliction, and I saw the skill cap one, which I agree and don't agree. I agree they can put us in A tier if you consider that Shadowplay and LSD it's super strong. I don't agree if you consider that you only have those two comps available to you, right? So it's like you can't really say you are A tier just because you have good comps, but that's my opinion, obviously. Oh, you can say the same about rogues. I don't consider sub rogues S tier just because they have one comp. Like, I think you should consider the strength of the class. And in terms of Affliction Warlock, the strength is doing a lot of damage, but it ramps up, which in this meta it's not as strong as an MM Hunter or a Fire Mage or a Boomkin or a Shadow Priest. You can't really survive cooldowns without using cooldowns or with using one really small cooldown like Greater Fate. So I can't agree on A tier, but I do agree that with Shadowplay and LSD you actually are A tier. I would rank it B plus probably. Um, I also think Destro very soon is gonna take over the ladder. I played it a bit in beta, and you had like two different specs that are extremely good. So you had this instant spam spec where you just press conflag Shadowburn pretty much and Rain of Fire. And you had this other different spec which is more BFA like, where it's all about the Chaos Bolt damage, and that was good as well. If you can tank a bit more, which after changes you will be able to tank more. But yeah, like I just hope that they actually see the feedback and they see that we need a slight damage shift from Malefic Rapture to Dots, and we need a survivability buff with maybe a mobility nerf, either through Soul Shape or the Legendary. This Legendary is gonna get nerfed. It's gonna go back to like 30% or something, and yeah, I hope we just get something else in return. But yeah, I just wanted to ramble a bit, kind of, and I hope this week, this next week, we actually have changes, because it's arena, it's pretty insane right now. It's really fucking insane, and we need tuning, like Windwalkers, Rats, Boomkins, Shadow Priests, Warriors. You have a lot of broken classes. Enhancement Shamans. You have a lot of broken. Every class that can one shot should be nerfed for sure, and every class that can actually negate a one shot should also be nerfed. So yes, Warriors and Shadow Priests also need nerfs, but not in damage, more in terms of tankiness maybe. Uh, and if everything actually gets kind of nerfed in terms of, for example, Boomy staying in bear form and not worrying about anything, then maybe Affli sees more play in other comps besides Shadowplay and LSD, because then all of the sudden your damage actually matters. But yeah, thanks guys. I just wanted to ramble a bit, and let's hope we get some changes. I'm not even saying buffs. I think we are fine if we get changes. Okay, not buffs. Changes in terms of the class. Alright, peace.